Since long ago, the rolling hills of Ohio, West Virginia, and Kentucky have been home to a breed of self-sufficient, industrious folks who put stock in one's ability to use their hands and live close to the land. In Athens, Ohio, this tradition has been carried on simultaneously with the establishment of a great university. Established in 1804, Ohio University is the first institution of higher learning in the state of Ohio. The charm of the tree-lined brick walkways on the college green make all feel welcome on the campus of Ohio University. It is within this setting that landsmen and academics, living and working side by side, have created a unique progressive community and surrounding area which has proven to be an ideal home for many artisan craftspersons. The Foothills School of American Crafts will be a facility to train economically viable working craftspersons and will be dedicated to the integrity of process and product excellence. Today we will be visiting several artisans to have them demonstrate their skills and to talk to them about their desires and expectations concerning their craft. Our first visit begins just outside Shade, Ohio, at the glass studio of Jeffrey Beadham, which is located between the rolling hills along Fossil Rock Road. Morning, Jeff.
Morning, Greg. How are you today?
Pretty good. What are you going to be making this morning?
We're making a small shell called a flared nautilus.
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions while you work?
Not at all. Go ahead.
How hot is the glass that you're working with?
2,500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
It's quite hot. Let's see here. We have to keep the glass in a constant liquid state over a 24-hour period, so it's ready to go when we are.
Where do you get those tools? Do you make them yourself or can you buy them?
Some we make ourselves and some we buy through different suppliers across the country. These are just wooden paddles made out of cherry that we keep wet. They're called blocks. We use them to shape the hot glass.
How did you become interested in glass blowing?
I studied at Ohio University. Jane Bruce sort of got me interested in the process. Told me I should come down and take classes.
How long have you been doing this?
About 10 years now. Need a little more glass to make this the right size, so we're going to get another gather. It's a big one. We're dripping off to get the size and the shape right.
And will you do that process again, or is this enough glass?
I think this will be enough, yeah.
Putting it in there does what to the glass?
It creates optics on the exterior.
So it puts the ridges that the mold has into the glass itself?
Yeah, it's a pattern mold. the tip down so it doesn't blow out too much down there.
Jeff, are those special glasses you're wearing?
Yeah, we use didymium lenses to protect from the ultraviolet rays in the furnace.
And why are you cutting some of the glass off of your piece?
Well, we're starting to pull it out into a cone to shape the shell. So this is just going to end up waste.
Time to work with it once it comes out of the oven, do you?
No, it's a quick process. It cools off so rapidly, a few hundred degrees makes it like ice.
Is that why you use the torch?
Yeah, the torch helps me get different areas hot that I need.
Earplugs?
Sometimes.
It's a little noisy at times, doesn't it?
Not really noisy now.
Jeff, where do you get the glass that's in the furnace?
We use recycled glass from Fenton Art Glass in West Virginia. It's called cullet. It's the waste that they normally would throw out.
And you just put that in the furnace and then it melts down into what you use today?
Well, we sort through it and wash it, clean it up, and then let it dry out and put it in there.
What's the process you're about to do now?
We're going to put a punny patch on the bottom so when we crack off, it doesn't ruin the piece. Crack off. Okay.
So what's the next process that your assistant will be helping you with?
We're going to exchange onto a punny the piece.
You mean the piece will actually be coming off of this rod onto another one?
That's right. We're going to crack it right off of here.
This must be one of the most crucial moments of the whole work of art.
It's been known to be. Can get hairy. Okay, Steve.
Getting rid of more glass like that, is that to help shape the piece?
Yeah, it was a little bit too long. We want to tighten it up a little bit so it's in proportion with the back.
So the cutting is the part that opens up the shell in its final form.
Yeah, it creates that flared look, and it also gives it a couple feet to stand on when we're finished.
Where do you sell your completed glass works when they're finished?
We sell to galleries and shops all over the country, and a little bit in Japan and Europe.
Now that you have that cut, what will be the next process to watch for?
I'm going to pull out some spikes off the top rim to give it a more shell-like look.
I'll get out of your way. That's a different torch. What's the difference between that one and the larger torch?
This one we use oxygen with, so it's a lot hotter, and we can clean up the area real quick. Okay.
Jeff, I noticed that when you finished, you put this piece in the oven. What's the purpose of that?
That's a annealing oven. We have to soak piece in there for at least an hour and then bring it down over a 12-hour period to take all the stress out of the hot glass. It realigns the molecules as it comes down, so it's just like it would be on a shelf, drinking glass.
Is that what you'd have to do no matter how large the piece would be?
Right.
Everything goes in the oven?
If you try and bring it down immediately, it'll just crack, because it's just too much pressure bearing on the glass.
Well, it's really beautiful to watch you work, and I'm glad you had time in your busy schedule to let us come out and watch.
That's a pleasure, Greg. Good seeing you again.
Thanks again, Jeff.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Isn't it fascinating how an artistic glass piece takes shape, all from a gob of molten liquid? We're now going to visit with Susan Abramowitz in her pottery studio, located just a few miles down the road from Jeffrey's. Susan makes utilitarian ceramic items, such as mugs, cups, bowls and plates, vases, and other containers. Well, here we are. Susan, how are you?
Good, Greg. How are you? Hi, it's good to see you again.
Nice to see you again.
Ready to come in and see what's going on?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Susan, what are you going to be making today?
We're going to make mugs, Greg. We're normally make 12 mugs at a time.
in increments of 48. These are 4-pound balls of clay cut into quarters, and this is going to be a coffee cup.
That's going to be a mug.
Yes, we make about 2,000 mugs a year, and it's our most popular item.
Wow. Let's see how that turns into a mug.
Okay, let's go.
Do you mind if I ask you some questions while you work this morning?
No, not at all. I'll start right now.
Okay.
I liked being able to take a material and manipulate it into another shape. I thought it was fun. I still think it's fun.
Where did you learn to become a potter?
I'm a graduate of the Cleveland Institute of Art in Cleveland, Ohio. I went to school there for 5 years to learn how to do this.
Is it difficult to get the clay to come into that shape?
Not if you know how. It's difficult to learn. It takes a lot of practice. If I were counting, I'd say this may be the 15,000th mug I might have made. With practice, you get very good. It's hard to learn initially. It's a challenge. It's a lot of fun.
Where do you get your clay?
I get my clay locally. It's mined about an hour from here, and it's delivered to me by the ton, dry, and we mix several different types of clay with water to come up with this clay, which is called stoneware clay. This is high temperature clay. It's fired to 2,400 degrees when it's completely finished.
At what stage do you start to add the color?
You start to add the color at the stage called bisqueware, which is after the first firing. And that makes it durable enough to handle, yet porous enough to absorb the glaze. And the glaze is liquid. It's in 30-gallon buckets, and we dip the pottery into the glaze. It's a very, very thin coating, 32nd of an inch.
Do you make the glazes yourself, or can you also buy them?
You can buy them, but we make them ourselves from the different raw materials, combining, for instance, we use cobalt for blue, we use copper for red or green. So we like to manufacture our own rather than buying something preset because we have more control this way.
How long have you been doing this, Susan?
Since 1974, when I graduated from college. I apprenticed to potter on a small island in Maine. After that, I taught for a couple years at Case Western Reserve University. And in 1977, I opened Rock Riffle Run Pottery in Athens, Ohio. And here we are today.
Where do you sell your completed mugs?
I sell my mugs. We also make 40 other items, and I sell them at national trade shows. There are usually 700 to 1,200 artists in all media at the trade shows. The trade shows attract about 10,000 buyers, and they're held all over the United States.
Well, it sounds like that this is a rewarding profession financially as well as personally for you.
Personally, it's rewarding. Financially, it's a lot of hard work, but it can be rewarding financially if you're able and willing to put in the time.
Well, Susan, I want to thank you for your time this morning, for allowing us to come into your workshop and watch you make these mugs.
Oh, Greg, you're perfectly welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks a lot, Susan. Boy, there sure is a lot more to making pottery than I ever imagined. I can't wait to return and try making one of those mugs myself, with Susan's help, of course. Our next visit has taken us along the winding back roads of beautiful Athens County to the Guysville, Ohio area, where we are going to be visiting with stained glass maker Greta Hainsworth.
Hi, Greg.
Hi, Greta. Thanks for letting us come out and visit today.
Okay, come on in.
Greta, what projects have you been working on lately?
Well, Mark and I have been working on a very large room-sized screen, room divider. It's called a water screen, and it's made up of a bunch of round rondelles. And, I'm also working on some pieces for the floral collection at Court Street Collection right now. She's going to put up a show for the Athena Floral.
What's the project that you're working on right here?
These are my tiny Tiffany night lights. This is a good production piece that I sell a lot of when I go out to art and craft shows. It's a nice little night light.
That's very pretty. Is this what you're going to be making this morning?
Right. I'm working on these. I usually work on quite a few of these at a time and make them up. And each one has eight little pieces. I usually use up my smaller pieces of glass that are left for my large projects to make these little lamps.
Now, what's the tool that you're using there?
This is called a cut running plier. It's a handy tool for breaking straight or semi-curved lines.
So this tool is the glass cutter itself. It cuts the glass?
Right. This is an oil cutter. There's oil in this chamber here, and whenever you press down with the cutter, the oil comes out and causes the wheel to be lubricated and slide easily over the glass. So this is a professional type cutter, but it's not very expensive, about $15. Anyone can have one of these.
Now, the pattern piece that you're using, did you make that yourself?
Yes, Mark made this out of sheet tin, and he makes me patterns. If I use something quite a lot, I'll make a tin pattern for it.
As opposed to what type of material?
Paper. A lot of the patterns that I cut, I just cut out a piece of paper and then I lay them down on the glass and draw around it because I probably won't be using it again or many more times. So many of my pieces are commission pieces, lamps, windows, door panels for people, for their homes, and often they're one-of-a-kind pieces. We're working right now on side lights and a door panel for some folks, and they want hummingbirds and trumpet vines.
I noticed some glass fragments on the table, and I also noticed that we're both wearing glasses. Obviously, that must be very important to have some type of eye protection in this work.
Right. I wear glasses anyhow, so I don't have to worry about safety glasses, but anyone who doesn't normally wear glasses should be wearing safety glasses anytime they work with these materials. So you can see we cut 8 of these little pieces, and then I take and draw the line here for the bottom of the piece, and we'll cut those out.
Is it harder cutting a curve than it is to cut a straight line, I suppose?
It's a little harder. You have to do it freehand rather than having the ruler to guide you. And inside curves are difficult to break. You get a little more small pieces, a little more chips.
Now, how will you make these rough edges smoother?
Well, what we'll do is I have grinders, and I can grind the edges so that when I'm done grinding them, they'll be very smooth and all ready to fit together nice and tight.
Is that the process you're going to be doing soon?
Right. We'll do that now, okay?
Okay. Greta, I notice you're using water in the grinding process. Is that necessary?
Yes, this grinder has a water reservoir, and you need to have water with all glass grinders. Grinding glass can make glass powder, which if you breathe that, it could give you silicosis. You always need water when you're grinding glass. What I'm doing now is I'm putting a very smooth beveled edge on these pieces of glass. That'll make them fit together very nice and snug.
Is that the next process, is we're going to fit these pieces together?
Right. I'll show you how I put the copper foil on these, and then we'll be soldering them together. I think we're ready for that now.
How did you learn stained glass making?
Well, I studied art when I was in college, and then while living in California, my good friend worked with stained glass, and I learned quite a bit from him. When we moved back here, I studied a lot of books and taught myself how to make the different things that I make today. There are a lot of good books available for people who want to learn to do something like this. You can make lamps, you can make window panels.
Where do you sell the things when you're finished making them?
Well, a lot of my work is commission work, where people order special things for their homes. And I also go to art and craft fairs, and I sell in shops.
And after you put that foil piece on there, how are they joined together to stay?
Well, let me show you how we'll set these things together. What we use is solder. It's tin and lead, and I have my soldering iron right here. So you put the flux on your piece around like this, and then we'll just attach two pieces together. Well, this is how I start. Very carefully line these up and check them from the outside. Now I have some other pieces here that I've started putting together, and I'll show you how these would continue to be set to form the little lamp. You have to make each piece exact, very precisely with the right size and shape in order to get this to come together. Because this is the hardest part, is actually getting these things to fit together, all these little angles.
It's really amazing that even though it's a small little item like a nightlight, that it's so intricate in detail to make such a piece. It's been really fascinating watching you make this and go through all the processes, and I'm really glad you had the time to let us come out and watch it today.
Well, thank you for coming, Greg. It's been fun.
Well, Greta, thanks again for allowing us to come out and visit and watch your work today.
Well, I'm really glad you came, Greg. It was a nice time, and you're welcome anytime. Come back and see us again.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Our thanks to Jeffrey, Susan, and Greta for sharing their time and craft with us. The Foothills School of American Crafts conducted a workshop last summer at Ohio University. We're fortunate to have a promotional videotape of that workshop to share with you now. So thanks for going along with us today on our visit, and enjoy the tape.
I know, but we should put it off. Oh, somebody has it. Someone took it. Oh, there it is. Yay. How are you supposed to stick these on? Oh, I think I'll.
We'll go now.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh, I need
Where'd my little-
squirts and put the thing on. Hey, you want to squirt some in there real quick? Joseph.
Joseph.
Are we ready to go? We're gonna get downstairs.
Somebody's got
Laura, I can't be getting you in focus.
All right. Okay, smile, Aaron. Smile. All right. Got it.
You got some good ones there, Sarah. That's a wise. Okay, wait. Let me get you in focus, Laura.
Smile, Toby.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Polaroid slide film. Look at some slides. Shoot some landscape pictures today. Go out for an hour. Look at those slides tomorrow, and I'll give you a roll of film to take home to shoot some portraits of family, pets, things like that, to bring back tomorrow. Okay? So is it all right to have a little bit of a homework assignment? Sure. No. No? Okay. Well, if it's not, you can shoot half of the roll when you go home, and we'll shoot the other half when we come back tomorrow. Okay?
Who are those people?
Who took the picture of the thing? I remember sitting there. Is that it, Aaron?
Well, I don't know. Wait.
Am I laying?
It might be.
Okay.
Aaron, I thought that was
Yeah, maybe it is mine.
Because didn't you take those ones to that bar? I have
Negatives
no idea.
are overexposed.
What are
That's
those?
why
I
they're
don't
so
think these are
dark.
mine. I don't remember people.
Somebody will have to identify these, right? See, this is a negative. Now, this is a reverse, but these negatives are overexposed. These negatives here look pretty well in exposure. This is out of focus, right? This is somebody's face up really close. It looked like Toby Keys' face. Now, these are pretty consistent.
That's Toby's.
Starting from
They're
the
not me,
exposure
because
that
they're
we
pictures
had.
of me on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, I guess.
These are all pretty even, all the way across. Most of these exposures are right. Even though they got underneath the building, they were able to meter it properly and get it pretty close. These are these.
No, it's because you took this picture.
Oh, look, there's that one of me and you.
Okay. Now, so she doesn't have to have too much of a problem. We're going to spend about remember, this is going to control time, right? This is all about time. The shutter's all about time. What is the time? And the f-stop is all about what? Light, the amount of light, and also it controls depth of field, right? Depth of field. Those snow-covered mountains right there, right? You know, with little Uncle Ricky and his spotted dog here.
Do you have enough words?
And those trees right here. And we want that whole thing, we want a lot of what? Depth of field, right?